Hi, Mrs. Mac. What are we doing? Moon Garden. Black. Hi, Stephanie. Oh, thanks, Jan. Have fun at your sewing class. Right, I am in the crazy mindset now of what to pick for a fabric. So I'm making a project bag because, as some of you may know, I have been teaching my husband how to sew, and he is making a lot of soft toys and he keeps losing all the pieces for them. So I thought I will come on here today and I will make a quick project bag. Some of the project bags you probably would have seen before. I've got my clear vinyl, I've got my foam, and I've got my other piece of foam which will go on the front to create a border. I'm not putting a handle on it because he won't be carrying it around anywhere. It just needs to keep his stuff flat and contained. His favourite fabric in Tula is the Nightshade Deja Vu. So I think I'm going to do Spider Blossom as the main fabric. So I know that that's 14 inches square. So if I cut off just over 14, I know that I can get the front back out of that. So if I cut that, open that up, cut that to 14. So that will cover the front panel. Cut off a couple of 4-inch piece for here. I'll put this in the scrap bin. So some of you may not know, I have various scrap bins in my room because I have... How's the cat coming along? I've not started that one yet, Stephanie. I don't know whether I will or not. Right, that one is the lining, that is the lining. So now I need a big fabric. Let's do some of the Raven lace. It's going to be a very Halloween-y gothic project bag. This is what it looks like. Got some Raven lace off that bit there. So that is that. So that will be the front border. This can go in my large scrap bin because it's not smaller than 5 inches. And on the backing, why don't we just go for plain black? I don't think I've got any. Yeah, right, let's do black fairy flakes on the back, and then it can have a black and white stripe binding, which I know that I've already got some of that cut, I think. I need to order another bolt of that before it goes out of stock. Right. Let's get another one of those done. That one's a really large scrap, so that can go on my fat quarter stack on the wall up there. Right, so I am going to quilt these foam panels now, which are going to create my main body of my project bag. So I'm layering them up in a quilt sandwich. I'm going to spin you around so you can actually see what I'm quilting. I'm going to move my huge zip pull collection out of the way. And then we are going to quilt these panels. So today we are using the Juki Industrial because it is super fast. And I haven't got a huge amount of time to get this done before he gets home from work, and I just want to get it done. So I'm going to start in the center. I'm just going to do very, very easy, very, very quick sort of freehand, wiggly, sort of very professional term. Just going to do a wiggly stitch. So I need to up my stitch length a little bit because otherwise it's a little bit too. So I'm going to just back stitch at the beginning, and I'm just going to literally do a wiggle the whole way around. If this was a larger project bag, then I would normally 505 baste it. But because it's quite small, I can kind of keep the tension on it by myself. It's basically my own serpentine stitch, thereabouts. And what do you know, the bobbins run out. Because why wouldn't it? But we're all right because we've got one preload on the top. One thing I do love about this machine is it's really easy. Huh, he says he can't even find where the bobbin goes anymore. There we go. Pull that thread up. Where was I? So I'm going to back stitch there just to seal off where I ran out of bobbin. Snip our threads. Snip our threads that were left over from where the bobbin ran out. So there we have one of the panels quilted, which is all just, oh, I can't really see, it's just got a very, very wiggly quilted stitch on there. I'm just going to quilt the other panel, which goes on the front, and then I will trim them down. And this is why you need an industrial if you do a lot of quilting, because it is so fast. So there we go. Hi, Terry. So I'm just going to trim these down and then we'll bind them and then I will move on to the next step. So I will up you up a bit so you can see what I'm doing. I don't know why I got my iron out because I don't need to iron anything. Right, so I'm just going to square these off to where the edge of my foam is. So this is going to be quite a small project bag, but it's literally just big enough to put all of the pattern pieces for soft toys in, which will be ample, I would imagine. Just to come in a bit. So trim that down. This is our back piece. Trim this one down. This will give us our front piece. So these are super fun to make. Really good if you've got some sort of like squares of foam left over. Let's put that one out. Just so inch. And they're a great way of keeping your quilt blocks flat if you do a lot of quilting. It is a great machine, Stephanie. I have to say it's probably my favourite machine I've ever used. Hi, Karen. Oh, from Lanarkshire. You are in the Scottish area, I'm gathering. Lanarkshire is Lanarkshire, Scotland. I've got a friend that lives in Motherwell, which I think is Lanarkshire, is it not? Right. So there's a very technical way that I work out how much vinyl I need. So I cut it a little bit wider than the actual project bag. I line it up with the edge of my. You can see so I line it up with the edge of that front panel. You're going to focus? And then I measure to the edge of my project bag where it's going to finish. And I line that up on a line. So this one here is going to be 16 inches. So I take that out and then I cut it 3/4 of an inch shorter. And that normally works out perfect because it then gives me a little bit of overlap to stitch the vinyl on. And it also reduces the vinyl down short enough that it will incorporate the zip. Put that there, pick a zip. It's going to have to be pink, obviously. Let's go with the rest of the project bag. Let's cut that off. Put the zipper tape back. Right, binding. Binding. Ooh, now we have got a lot of pre-cut pink. Shall we just go for pink? That is the question. Right. Pink binding. Move the vinyl out of the way. Right, so what we need to do is bind the top edge of this panel at the front, which is where our binding is then going to stitch onto the back of, and then we need to bind the top edge of the vinyl. So I'll do one at a time. So this is the wrong side, this is the right side. Hi! So I'm going to take my binding and fold it in half. I'm going to stitch on the binding around this edge here. Trim that down, press it back so that it will flip around to the front. And we're going to top stitch the binding down. So we're bound to top edge. What model G key is it? It is the DDL 7000A7, but it's got a couple of little upgrades on it. So it's got an auto foot lift on it, which is what this motor thing here is. So that lifts my pedal on the back of the foot pedal, and it also engages the cutter, and it's also got a reverse upgrade on it here instead of having to use this big lever. So let's stitch. So we need to bind the top of that vinyl. That's the next thing we need to bind. So I'm going to put my vinyl on top of my binding because I've got a Teflon foot on, and it actually prefers to sew with the binding underneath. So I'm going to stitch the binding on at 1/4 inch with the vinyl on top, because then I can actually see my binding through the underneath. Like so. And yes, I'm using my guinea pig tape as my 1/4 inch marker, my guinea pig washi tape, which is the best thing I've ever bought. Love that for all fabric. Think I'll have that. I think I'll have my caddy. Oh, hi, Karen. Oh, you want that one? Ah, nice. Yes, if you could message me, Karen. I was thinking about you this morning, actually. I was thinking, ooh, I need to chase Karen and see if she's had a think about what she would like of her caddy to be made from. So yeah, if you'd like that floral, they actually have it in 2 different colorways. So that's the more colorful one, and then they do it in a slightly smaller print, which is slightly more muted. So if you'd like them made, if you'd like your caddy to be in those sort of fabrics, one, I think it would look really pretty. I think it would be a really pretty caddy. I can't stay because I have a week. I can't stay because I have a work meeting in a few minutes, but I wanted to say hello. Oh, hi, Izzy. Thank you for dropping in anyway. I will speak to you soon, no doubt. Hi, Tiffany. I didn't see you in there. I'm from Wishaw, which is next door to Motherwell, although I'm staying in a hotel in Motherwell because my house is flooded at the moment. Oh, that sucks. I'm sorry to hear that, Karen. That's a really bad spot of luck. Yeah, what else? Have I missed anyone? I don't want to miss anyone. No. Right, so I am going to just double check the measurements on this because I need to get this zip on first. So I'm just going to get that zip lined up onto the vinyl. All right, so that is the zip on the found edge of the vinyl. This vinyl's a bit creased, but with time it will relax. If you also want a top tip, if you want to soften up your vinyl and get rid of any creases, if you iron your ironing board, move your iron out of the way, and then just lay your vinyl on the warm ironing board, it'll flatten out beautifully and you won't melt your vinyl. So let's line this up on here. Let's put the foot down on that because it will just drop by itself in a minute. So if we line that up there, let's put some clips on here just to keep the zip in place. This gives me a better idea of where the vinyl needs to go. Right, so if I now line up my bottom, no, that's the wrong way around. Bear with, spin, spin. Let's pop the, let's clip the zip into place. I'm surprised I haven't been interrupted by Oh, fabulous, Karen. Thank you. This now allows me to work out how far my vinyl needs to overlap the inside. So this will now show, if by clipping the vinyl and the zip up the top, it shows me how far I need to overlap my vinyl on the inside here before I top stitch it down the top of this binding to create the front pocket. So I'm going to just quickly clip that there. Like so. I'll pop a clip in the other side. And then I'm going to flip this around carefully and open that up, because this will now allow me to stitch that vinyl around. Move it away. And it then should, theoretically, it should line up when we flip it back. I have made many of these project bags, but occasionally it doesn't line up. Are you going to line up now? Are you going to line up nicely for me? Yes, it does. Right, okay, so what I'm going to do is just remove the clips. I'm going to now line up my bottom panel on top of that project bag, and I'm going to stitch this at just as on a scant 1/4 inch, just to get that in place. For anyone that's umming and ahhing about ever getting a Teflon foot, just buy one. They are the best thing I've ever got. Right, so now what I'm going to do, now I've got that bottom bit in situ. Obviously, we have the project bag. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stitch down one side. I'm going to stitch across the top of the zip, and then I'm going to stop. And that is so that I can put the zip pull on. And then I'm going to stitch across the other side to hold the zip pull in place. What I'm actually going to do is just going to stretch that. No, do you know what? I'm actually going to change my mind. I'm going to do the zip pull. I'm going to put the zip on top first, because I think it's going to give me a better finish. So I don't use a pattern for these. I just make them up as I go along, because they always need trimming down anyway. Alright, so I've stitched along the top there, and I've stitched up one side. What I'm now going to do is pop the zip pull on, which are all over here. Now I've moved them. So I'm going to put one of my zip pulls on. So the zip pulls, for those of you, I like to put one side in, tuck the other side in, pull it back ever so slightly so that they are the same length, and get rid of any bubbles. Push it up the bottom of the zip pull there, so give it a nudge up the bum, and then it'll pull on. And then you can go ahead and seal your other end of the zip. Right, so we have a fully functional project bag now, which opens, closes, and gives you access to the inside. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to just go back over to my cutting table, and I'm just going to trim off all of the edges and just square it up. And then all we're going to do is put a binding on it the same way as you bind a quilt. So I will be back in a second. I'm just going to shuffle and cut this down. That's going to drop. Just trim off the excess vinyl. Let's move the zip the right way so the sleeve will actually lay flat. Right, so excess vinyl and zip trimmed. I will now be able to go around and bind it. So if you are putting if you are going to put a handle on, what I advise doing is cutting a piece of webbing that is about 10 inches long, And what you need to do is just secure it down on the back, sort of at midpoints, about 3 inches apart. So if you pop one side down here, stitch it, and then the other side down here and stitch it, then put your binding on top and keep your handle flat against here, sort of in this shape. Put your binding on, stitch your binding to the front, and then your handle will then flip up from behind. So I need to just quickly join some of these strips of binding. Although I don't think I've got enough, but we shall see. You never know. So I'm going to join these. Join up all these pieces. I hope this will be long enough. It probably will be, thinking about that. I'm going to trim off the edge here. Just going to check. Just checking outside because someone's parking very close to my car and someone hit it 4 times the other day, which was really nice of them. Right, so starting at the bottom, my binding here, I believe, is 2 inches, which is going to make it very, very tight to get it round. But I would normally go for 2 1/4, but this is pre-cut, and I don't have the need to cut some more at the minute because I've got loads and loads of binding scraps, which I'm trying to use up. So we're applying this. We're going to miter the corners, the same as when you're binding a quilt. Stitch it all the way around. You're going to have to move the zip pull out of the way as you go along the top. You may find it gets a little bit stuck on the vinyl underneath. Right, so I'm just going to miter this corner, and then I'll just move the zip pull out of the way so I can get most of the way down. But then when I get about halfway, I'm going to move the zip pull back. So the zip pull, I can feel it, so I'm not going to hit it. So now I'm halfway. I'm going to just lift and press the foot, and I'm going to shuffle my zip to the other end so I don't go anywhere near it, which allows me to finish my seam halfway along. Nice to this corner. And the binding is long enough, which is always a win in life when your binding's long enough. It's never fun when you get halfway around a project and your binding runs out. Oh, thanks, Stephanie. Thanks for checking in. It was lovely to see you. Have a nice day. So I'm just going to do the very lazy overlap on the bottom. So I'm going to overlap about 1/2 inch. I'm going to trim off the excess binding, like so. Throw that out of the way. In the binding pile of doom, I'm going to flip the binding on those corners, the whole way around. And then we're going to top stitch it onto the project bag. So this one's going to finish up about 15 inches. You can go anything up to about 20 inches if you've got like really big projects you want to do. Obviously, you can do them. The good thing about doing them this way is you can do them custom sized to whatever quilt block you are making. So if you're making one that purely for keeping storage of your quilt blocks while you're working your way through a project, you can actually make it like an inch or two bigger than the finished quilt block for the project you're working on, which works out really well. Right, I'm just using my tailor's awl, or my stiletto, however you'd like to call it. I think they're just different names by different companies. I think I may have run out of bobbin here. Let me just double check that. Let's start again. Tuck that binding over. Right, that's better. So I'm just pulling it over with my stiletto as I'm going along, because it gives me a nice, tight, even binding the whole way round. Just going to squish my corner in because it's a bit bulky. I'm going to fold that there. And then what I'm going to do is just mitre my corner. I'm going to cut off these loose threads out. Cutting. I'm going to just ping that corner back like so, and just stick my stiletto through the corner to keep it nice and flat. While I come towards it, I'm just going to slide the stiletto out, and then my needle will then hold that corner down while I reposition. So that allows me to get right in there and get the next part of my binding down. Good thing with this as well is it allows you to cover the ends of your zips with the binding, so you enclose all of your zippers. Zip tape. Right, I'm just going to give that a good. Pull that nice and tight, just so I can get a really nice, neat finish on the end of my zipper. Spin that around and get a stitch this way to hold it in place. Sometimes it's easy enough to actually hold it. Finger. I'm just going to pop that, press it up, and get the zip out of the way now. Fold it around. Top corner tucked in. Nice. So if you want to actually physically work out how much binding you're going to need, you just need to obviously measure all four sides. If it's a square, obviously, and it's like a 15-inch square, then you're going to need 60 inches of binding plus a couple of extra inches to play with. So you'd probably need, I would just cut 2 full width fabric strips just so then you've got ample. So I'm just tucking that in there. I'm going to just mitre this last corner. Just going to lift my presser foot so I can get my finger right under there. And that's that tucked in. sure my phone is thread before I go to that bit and then close it. Back stitch at the end, and that is very, very quick, simple, easy finished project bag. So you've got a zip across the top which allows you to put all of your stuff on the inside. It's all nicely bound on the edge. As I say, you can pop a handle on the back of it here if you want to carry it around, and that is a good way of using up small pieces of vinyl as well. If you've got lots of like sort of 10 by 14 inch strips of vinyl, then you can actually just make your border at the bottom here as high as you want, so you can use up all your vinyl scraps. So yeah, that is a little finished project bag which will now hold all of the pattern pieces to a million teddies, I would imagine. So I will probably check in with you all again soon. Thank you for watching, and I will probably be making a few more of these this afternoon. I will see you all soon. Thanks, Tiffany. I will try and work out the measurements for this and pop it in the description box below if you want to make one the same size. It is quite an easy thing to do because you can basically just make it whatever size you wish. But yeah, it keeps. If you're going to say, for instance, this was a quilt block in here, you can basically keep your quilt blocks. You can put your quilt blocks in really flat, and it keeps them really flat, so it stops them going all crinkly if you shove them in a box and don't want to do that quilt for about 6 months like I do. So yeah, I will see you all soon. Thanks for watching. Thanks for commenting, everyone, and I will speak to you soon. Bye for now.